The grand opening.
Ricardo,
nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Yes, likewise.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. You see how many likes he got on that Facebook group? He's not wrong. Welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
That was a really interesting scene. It's a very large cast, right? And there's a lot of like that bantery dialogue back and forth with each other throughout the thing. How difficult is it to get all the timing right so that it seems like, I mean, it seems effortless, but of course it's not.
There's definitely a musicality to the script. David Lindsay-Abaire is just one of the more prolific playwrights that we have, contemporary playwrights. And so there's like, with that many characters, there is a music that flows, a musical element. The harder aspect of it, I shouldn't say harder. I guess for me, it was challenging because I've done a lot more leads. This is very ensemble, but everybody's got a really nice moment. But it's when you're not talking and all the active listening that has to be happening for each and every actor. You don't realize how tiring that is. You know? I mean, really. And so it's like, because it's like, you know, we have our moments, but there's a lot of moments that we have that are nonverbal, where we're actively listening to the other actors that are doing their part and having their moment on stage. And we have to make sure that we're ready to interact or interject that one line that we have, or that next speech that we have, or that nonverbal interaction that we have with whatever's happening on stage. And it takes a definite amount of focus.
And I think it's also a way to be a good co-star, right? I mean, when you're acting with somebody, they're counting on that active listening and energy from you, right?
There's no small part. There's only small actors. You know, and the beautiful thing about this cast is MTC and David Lindsay and Kenny Leon, our director, who's just such a great leader. They did such a good job at casting it, where you have people that each and every single actor in this cast could be that starting quarterback. You know?
And you know, we noticed from the clip, it seems like the topics that you guys touch on, it's so relatable. Was that the premise of it?
Oh yeah. So you know, it's packaged in a neighborhood, an upscale neighborhood, an HOA neighborhood, but you have this group of characters that are multi-generational, multicultural, you know, and the topics are, you know, those range of topics that happen in an HOA, like whose grass is too long and who's leaving their dog poop on the yard and all that stuff. But the undercurrents are what everybody brings to the table, like, you know, your own specific prejudices and your own specific thoughts and ideologies with regards to the world and politics and religion and sexual orientation. And how do we interact as neighbors, and how do we interact, you know, when we're talking about mundane things, grass, dog poop, but in reality, we bring all these other things to the table, and we will ultimately have conversations about them. And what happens when those conversations get difficult and get prickly?
So that's interesting. Why do you think people get so passionate about these little topics, and do you think they're somehow a proxy for the bigger things that they want to talk about?
Okay, so look, I mean, like, you're both married, correct? Yes? Okay.
No.
Okay, but we've had relationships, right? Okay, so in any relationship, you know, it's like, are you really arguing about who scooped ice cream out of the thing with a spoon and didn't put it in a bowl? Or is it a larger argument that exists within the relationship? And I think that that's a lot of, that's human dynamics. You know, it's like, you know, we'll have the big, huge blowout over something so small and insignificant, but we're really angry about something else. There's like a major boundary that maybe we didn't set with each other, or you disrespected me a week ago when you forgot this date that's really important to me. And so you're carrying that, and but you're not wanting to have that difficult conversation. So let me have the conversation about the grass or the dog poop.
The other aspect of this is also, how well do you know your neighbors in real life? You know, you always ask. I mean, I don't really speak to my neighbors because of our schedules. So I think that's also relatable.
So I split my time. We have a house in San Antonio, and then we also have a house in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So just given what transpired in Minnesota recently, and I was there when all that stuff was going on with ICE and the interactions that were happening in the city. And that city really gelled together. And all of a sudden, like, all the neighbors are coming outside, and everybody's like looking at each other and asking each other questions about, like, hey, are you okay? Hey, is everything all right? it was one of the most beautiful things that I've seen. I know so many more of my neighbors in Minneapolis than I do in San Antonio, and I've been in San Antonio my whole life. You know, we've only had the house in Minneapolis for like 4 years, but I know so many more neighbors as a result of what just transpired over there.
Community, it can really be built in times of crisis.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Like
and
amazing.
let me tell you, man, that community, Minneapolis is, for me, my perspective on it, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever lived because of that community.
Well, we're partial to New York.
I love New York. I love New York too.
And you get to be a New Yorker while you're doing the show, right? So while you're here, what are your favorite things to do? What are the things you can't do in San Antonio and Minneapolis that you get to do while you're in New York? When you're back in Minneapolis, hanging with your neighbors, what will you miss?
Now, I do this everywhere, but I get to do it at a much larger level here. I was talking to the driver that brought me over here today about this. So I love to go for long walks. So the other day, 2 Mondays ago, I'm staying out in Brooklyn. So I walked from Brooklyn all the way up to like 110th Street.
Oh, wow.
And then back down toUnion Square. So it was about an 18-mile walk. You know,
You got your steps in that day.
Exactly. It was like
So
32,000 steps that day. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and, but it's like to be able to walk through a city and experience all the different neighborhoods, all the different restaurants, to see all the people walking back and forth. That's another thing. Like in other cities that I live in, I get to choose when I interact with humanity. You know, like if I go to the gym and I want to talk to somebody, if I go to a restaurant, I want to, you know, I'll interact with the waiter because I have to, but like other people, I choose to interact with them.
Yeah.
You have no choice but to interact with humanity when you're in a city like New York.
You got to.
You
It's a New York thing too.
And I love that. I love that. But it's a little jarring sometimes when you haven't done it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know?
Takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you here in New York.
Oh my God, man! Thank you guys.
much. Thank you so much for stopping.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Check this out. Manhattan Theater Club's production of The Balusters is now playing at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater. Grab tickets. So many good topics and conversations,
So
and really great
relatable.
musical writing.